All praises to the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and peace to everyone joining us on this program. This is the Fountain of Israel's Bible Study program, and this particular program is a special program because it is one of our, or the Lord's, feast days. And this one we'll be observing or unpacking the Feast of Tabernacles, also called the Feast of Ingatherings. And we're going to go right into the scriptures to give you guys detailed understanding of the Feast of Tabernacles, the ingathering. And as always, we're going to start in Leviticus 23. So if you guys would just join me in Leviticus 23, we'll get right into the lesson. And thanks a lot for you guys, taking the time out and joining us every week. Like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends, and we really appreciate that. So let's go ahead and start with Leviticus 23, and we're going to start in, let's start at verse 1. Go ahead and read.
And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, concerning the feast of the Lord, which ye shall proclaim to be a holy convocation, even these are my feasts.
Yes.
6 days shall work be done, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of rest and holy convocation.
Go ahead.
Ye shall do no work therein. It is the Sabbath of the Lord in all your dwellings. These are the feasts of the Lord, even holy convocations, which ye shall proclaim in their seasons. Okay, now the one thing I want to point out is, one, obviously these are his feasts. He also pointed out the weekly Sabbath, and then he goes right into the annual Sabbaths, the high Sabbaths, the Moedims. And we're going to go to the feast that we are observing right now, or for this week, for the duration of the week, at verse 33. Okay, so we're supposed to do this at the appointed times, okay, in their time and in their season. So we don't get to do it when we want to do it, okay. We're trying to follow the instructions the best we can, okay. So do it. Start at verse 33, brother. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, The 15th day of this 7th month shall be the Feast of Tabernacles for 7 days unto the Lord. Okay. On the first day shall be an holy convocation. Yes. Ye shall do no servile work therein.
And then what?
7 days ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord. On the 8th day shall be an holy convocation.
Now notice what he said, okay? For 7 days, okay? So he says, 7 days you shall offer an offering made by fire. So they're going to make an offer by fire. And on the 8th day, okay, which is part of it. So you can go 7 days, then the 8th day, which is another, it's actually a part of the ingathering, okay. So on the 8th day shall be a holy convocation unto you, and you shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord. Continue. In verse 36.
7 days ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord. On the 8th day shall be an holy convocation unto you. And ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord. It is a solemn assembly. And ye shall do no servile work therein.
All right, just as a point of clarity, as you go to Deuteronomy 16, in the first day is a holy convocation, okay? And then what you're going to do, take off work, okay? You take off work. And then we're supposed to be dwelling in booths for 8 days. Okay, we're going to look at that though. But these feasts we are supposed to observe annually. All the men of Israel, all the brothers and sisters in Israel, the men in their whole house, supposed to go on over to Israel, dwell in booths, stay there for 7 days. First day, solemn assembly. Okay, you have a class, you have a lesson, you worship the Lord. Feast for 7 days. On the 8th day, solemn assembly. Okay. And this is how the Lord wants us to observe the feast. Now let's take a look at it at Deuteronomy 16, and let's start at verse 16. Deuteronomy 16, verse 16. And when you get there, go ahead and read.
3 times in a year shall all thy males appear before the Lord thy God, in the place which he shall choose.
Yep.
In the feast of unleavened bread.
That's one feast.
And in the feast of weeks.
Pentecost, go ahead.
In the feast of tabernacles.
3 feasts right there. Go ahead.
And they shall not appear before the Lord empty.
Okay, so with all your substance, all your increase, you're not to appear before the Lord empty. Okay, there's gatherings. Okay, here in America, there's certain people that go campgrounds and they go out in the woods, in the wilderness, and they meet together. They stay in tents. There's certain communities that are out there, and they do this, and they do it every year. You're supposed to come and you don't appear empty, because you're supposed to be putting on a feast. So guess what? You should help out with that. Okay, you should be giving of your increase in that. You think, oh, this brother, you know, he talking about money and tithes and all. Look, you got to put this feast on, and some people get anywhere from 100 to 300-400 people coming to these feasts. It's fair that one person or one family is supposed to bear the burden for 200-300 people and feed them all for a week. We're supposed to gather before the Lord, and you're supposed to do this annually. So it's a big deal for you to come to a community and eat all the food and don't do. Come on, brothers and sisters. We got to do a lot better than that. If you were planning on going and gathering to a place where the Lord chooses to put his name, or where the saints gather together, and no, I'm not doing an altar call or anything like that. I'm not going to a land right now. I'm just saying what I have seen out there. I've seen some of these elders in different communities, or I've talked to them, or I've maybe even seen videos or whatever. I've seen it or heard it, and I just think it's just, I think it's sad. I think it's sad that Israel would be that way. Okay? I think it's sad that the Most High can take care of you day to day, every day, throughout the year, rain, sleet, or snow, good or bad. And then these 3 times a year, you can't come together and provide for yourself, your family, and help provide for others. Okay? It's almost like a potluck. Provide for you and your family, provide for others, because they're providing for you. Everybody wins. Okay? So, he said that the 3 times that you're going to show is in the Feast of Unleavened Bread, and in the Feast of Weeks, and in the Feast of Tabernacles, and they shall not appear before the Lord empty. In verse 17 says what?
Every man shall give as he is able, according to the blessing of the Lord thy God, which he hath given. Okay, you're gonna give it according to you're able. So it's not something that I'm doing. Oh, brother Robert, you asking for money? No, the Lord said, don't come to him empty, and you're supposed to give as you are able. Okay, this is not some Sunday preachers. I'm not passing around a plate to you. If you're gonna do it, then let's do it. That's all I'm saying. If you're gonna do it, then let's do it. Let's do it the way the Lord prescribes, because we try to do what? The best we can. Now let's go to Exodus 23. Let's go to Exodus 23. We're trying to be Torah keepers as the best we can. We're not doing it perfectly, but guess what? We're not telling someone that they don't have to do it. Okay? So that's what we have to remember. Exodus 23. Let's do the best we can. Let's start at verse 14. Exodus 23 and 14. 3 times thou shalt keep a feast unto me in the year.
Okay, 3 times in a year. Go ahead.
Thou shalt keep the feast of unleavened bread.
Yep.
Thou shalt eat unleavened bread 7 days, as I commanded thee. In the time appointed of the month of Abib. For in it thou camest out from Egypt. And none shall appear before me empty. Okay, so the Lord explains this to us. He gives us to us over here, Exodus, gives us to us Deuteronomy, tell us when we need to go, tell us in Leviticus, right? So look at what he did. He said 3 times thou shalt keep a feast unto me in the year. So he tells us when you're supposed to keep a feast unto him. And then he is so kind to give us a little bit more detail on it, okay? Thou shalt keep the feast of unleavened bread. Well, what does that mean? It says, thou shalt eat unleavened bread 7 days, as I commanded thee, in the time appointed in the month of Abib. For in it thou camest out from Egypt, and none shall appear before me empty. Okay, so he tells us when, he gives us a reason why, and we are to follow that. Verse 16. In the feast of harvest, the first fruits of thy labors, which thou hast sown in the field. Go ahead. And the feast of ingathering, which is in the end of the year, when thou hast gathered in thy labors out of the field. Of all your increase. Turn with me, brother, to Leviticus 25. Okay, go to Leviticus 25. So he says, in the feast of harvest, the first fruits of thy labors, which thou hast sown in the field, and the feast of ingathering. Okay, so we looked at it in different places, what we're supposed to do at their appointed time, and even gave us a reason as to why we are doing it. Okay, so let's look at Leviticus 25, and I want you to pick it up at verse 21. Go ahead. No, verse 1. Leviticus 25, verse 1. Go ahead. And the Lord spake unto Moses in the Mount Sinai, right? Yes. Sinai, saying, speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, when ye come into the land which I give you, Then shall the land keep a Sabbath unto the Lord.
Okay, how's that?
6 years thou shalt sow thy field, and 6 years thou shalt prune thy vineyard, and gather in the fruit thereof.
What else?
But in the 7th year shall be a Sabbath of rest unto the land, a Sabbath for the Lord. Thou shalt neither sow thy field nor prune thy vineyard.
Okay, so you get in your land. Of course, this is in Jerusalem, in the surrounding areas and stuff. They go in. Even the land will have a Sabbath. It's symbolic, okay, of rest. So not only are you to have a rest, your land was to have a rest, okay, at the time. So for 6 years, you're going to do what you do agriculturally, okay? Grow and sow and reap and harvest and prune. All that you have to do. You do all that, okay? And then in the 7th year, you don't do any of that. Your land has a rest. Drop down to verse 8.
And thou shalt number 7 Sabbaths of years unto thee, 7 times 7 years. And the space of the 7 Sabbaths of years shall be unto thee 49 years.
So 49 years. Go ahead.
Then shalt thou cause the trumpet of
Jubilee
to sound on the 10th day of the 7th month.
Why's that?
In the day of atonement shall ye make the trumpet sound throughout all your land.
Why does it sound like these holy days are starting to run together? Why do they sound connected? Sabbath or rest, number of years. You're going to do this. Then you shall blow the trumpet, Feast of Trumpets, of Jubilee. In the year of Jubilee. The 50th year is the year of Jubilee, right? Okay. Why is that? Because in the day of atonement shall ye make the trumpet sound throughout all your land. Sounds like they're kind of going together. He has a plan. And his holy days spell out the plan. This is how his plan is unfolding. And this is how you and I sign up to be a part of the plan. The good part of the plan. By memorializing what these feast days mean unto the Lord. They're not even for you anyway. They're for him. They belong to him. You participating, memorialize it, and you're saying, I want to participate in your plan. We have to remember this. Now let's see how some of these things will unfold in the future, okay? Matthew 24. And yes, it began in the 1st century. It didn't end there, okay? It began. How many people know that his plan is unfolding piece by piece by piece? Everything, all the holy days haven't been fulfilled yet, right?
Right.
Okay. So, Matthew 24, and let's pick it up at 29. Matthew 24 and 29. Let's see what's going to happen.
Immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens shall be shaken.
Go ahead.
And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory.
Now, see, some people, they like to write this off. They like to be like, well, you know, it happened back in the 1st century and this and that. No. When he was on the Mount of Transfiguration, you know, what did the angels say to the apostles? They said, the same way you saw him ascend up, he will come back, right? So they literally saw him ascend, right?
Right.
So somebody's got to literally see him come back. Or else you'd have to explain to me why you picking and choose. Okay, when he left it's literal, but when he comes back it's figurative. Someone would have to explain that to me. Okay, so he said in verse 30, he said, and then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. Verse 31. Then what's going to happen?
And he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. Okay, is Israel gathered? Did the angels show up, blow a trumpet? Oh, well, that's not going to be literal. Okay, is Israel gathered? Is that going to be literal or figurative? I don't care how you picture it in your head. Are they going to be gathered? Did he literally scatter them? Are we literally all over the world? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, so we got to literally be gathered back together. Not that hard to figure out. We have plenty of naysayers out there, but not that hard to figure out. We are literally in the four corners of the earth. Literally in all directions of the earth. So it would stand to reasons that we have to literally come back and to gather together as a people. And that's going to happen when he comes back. Let's take a look at it in Isaiah 27. Go with me to Isaiah 27. Just want to give you guys a quick tabernacle lesson to round out the week for you guys. Isaiah 27, pick it up at verse 12. When you get to verse 12, brother, go ahead and let the Bible speak.
And it shall come to pass in that day
Mm-hmm.
that the Lord shall beat off from the channel of the river unto the stream of Egypt.
Mm-hmm.
And ye shall be gathered one by one, O ye children of Israel.
Wait a minute, who's going to be gathered one by one?
Children of Israel.
The children of Israel. Now he said he's going to do this. He said he's going to do this. He said, "It shall come to pass in the day that the Lord shall beat off from the channel of the river unto the stream of Egypt, and ye shall be gathered one by one, O ye children of Israel." Verse 13.
And it shall come, and it shall come to pass
Mhm.
in that day that the great trumpet shall be blown,
Mm-hmm.
and they shall come which were ready to
Mhm.
perish in the land of Assyria,
Mm-hmm.
and the outcasts of the land of in the land of Egypt,
Mm-hmm.
and shall worship the Lord in the holy mount at Jerusalem.
Okay, so we're going to have to literally worship the Lord in the holy mount of Jerusalem. Okay, so look at all these things that kind of run together. We're talking about the gathering. He's gonna beat off the channel of the river of Egypt, and then ye shall be gathered one by one. And he tells us who that's going to be, O ye children of Israel. And then he also says, that it shall come to pass in that day that the great trumpet shall be blown. I mean, just everything just being weaved together. The whole thing, the whole plan is being weaved together, and we'll get that if we're paying attention. Okay, now let's see what else was some of the gathering, a little bit of how this gathering is going to look and take place in 1 Thessalonians chapter 4. Thessalonians chapter 4. Okay, feast of ingathering, that's being together, dwelling together. Dwelling together. That's what the whole millennial reign is all about. Dwelling together and setting everything in order. That's what it's all about, setting everything in order and dwelling together in peace one by one. Okay, so let's go to 1 Thessalonians chapter 4. 1 Thessalonians chapter 4. And we're going to look at another way. One of the ways that we're going to be gathered. Okay, he's going to send his angels out. The trumpet will be blown. He'll send his angels out, gathering Israel, his saints, gathering his believers from one end of heaven to the next, bringing us all together. Okay, so we're going to take a look at that. 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, pick it up at verse 14 if you will.
For if we believe that Jesus died and rose again,
Mm-hmm.
even so them also which sleep in Jesus will God bring with him.
Mm-hmm.
For this we say unto you by the word of the Lord, that we which are alive and remain unto the coming of the Lord
Mhm.
shall not prevent them which are asleep.
Yeah, he's equating sleep and death, but go ahead.
For the Lord himself shall descend from heaven with a shout,
Mm-hmm.
with the voice of the archangel,
Mm-hmm.
and with the trump of God.
Okay.
And the dead in Christ shall rise first.
Now look, now some people like to dismiss things as figurative language, but when he says, for the Lord himself shall descend from heaven, that is not figurative language. That is literal language. The Lord himself shall. Figurative a lot of times is like, it's like a comparison, but he's saying exactly the Lord himself shall descend from heaven. The Lord himself shall come down. Okay? He's going to do it with a shout. So it's going to be a loud noise. Okay? Whatever it is, he's going to capture some attention is what they're trying to say. Amen?
Amen.
So he's going to capture some attention with the voice of the archangel and go ahead with what?
And with the trump of God.
Uh-huh.
And the dead in Christ shall rise first.
Go ahead.
Then we which are alive and remain shall be caught up together
Mm-hmm.
with them in the clouds
Mhm.
to meet the Lord in the air.
Mm-hmm.
And so shall we ever be with the Lord.
Okay, to meet the Lord in the air. To meet the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. to meet royalty. Okay? And got to escort him somewhere. Go to Zechariah 14. Okay? Because it said we're going to be with him. And wherever he is, that's where we're going to be. So is it not a fair question to say, well, where's he going to go? Where's he going to be? That's a fair question, right?
Yep.
So let's look at Zechariah 14. Pick it up at verse 1. Zechariah 14. When you get there, read verse 1. Let the Bible speak.
Behold, the day of the Lord cometh.
Come on.
Behold, the day of the Lord cometh, and thy spoil that shall be divided in the midst of thee.
Mm-hmm.
For I will gather all nations against Jerusalem to battle,
Mm-hmm.
and the city shall be taken, and the houses rifled, and the women ravished,
Mm-hmm.
and half of the city shall go forth into captivity.
Yep.
And the residue of the people shall not be cut off from the city.
Mm-hmm.
Then shall the Lord go forth and fight against those nations, as when he fought in the day of battle.
What else? Now, where is he going to be when all this happens? Go ahead.
And his feet shall stand in that day upon the Mount of Olives,
Uh-huh.
which is before Jerusalem on the east.
Mm-hmm.
And the Mount of Olives shall cleave in the midst thereof
Mhm.
toward the east and toward the west. And there shall be a very great valley,
Mm-hmm.
and half of the mountain shall remove toward the north,
Mhm.
and half of it toward the south.
That's a vivid description now, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
They gave us a really vivid, and his feet shall stand in that day upon the Mount of Olives, which is before Jerusalem on it. They got really specific. What he's going to do, where is it going to be, what's going to happen when he gets there. They got very, very specific. Go to verse 5.
And ye shall flee to the valley of the mountains,
Mm-hmm.
for the valley of the mountains shall reach
Azul.
unto Azul.
Mm-hmm.
Yea, ye shall flee, like as ye fled from before the earthquake in the days of
Uzziah.
Uzziah. You said? Uzziah, king of Judah.
Mm-hmm.
And the Lord my God shall come, and all the saints with
Okay, so wherever he is, that's where we're going to go. It sounds like wherever he goes, we're going to follow him around, doesn't it? He's gonna go over here. We're gonna go over there. Wherever the general says to go, that's where the troops are gonna go. Okay, that's that. I mean, we can't make it any simpler than that. Okay, we know he's going over the Mount of Olives. We know he's gonna go in Jerusalem. Okay, we know he's gonna wage war against the nations who came against Jerusalem, and the rightful, heirs to Jerusalem too. Okay, so we have all that. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now verse 6. Go ahead.
And it shall come to pass in that day
Mm-hmm.
that the light shall not be clear nor dark,
Mm-hmm.
but it shall be one day which shall be known to the Lord, not day nor night.
Mm-hmm.
But it shall come to pass that at evening time it shall be light.
Yeah, even when it's dark, it's gonna be light. Okay, it's not gonna be a typical day, people. It's not gonna be your typical Monday morning. It's gonna be really, really different. Okay, on that day. Go ahead.
And it shall be in that day that living waters shall go out from Jerusalem,
Mm-hmm.
half of them toward the former sea,
Mm-hmm.
and half of them toward the hinder sea.
Mm-hmm.
In summer and in winter shall it be.
What else?
And the Lord shall be king over all the earth.
Mm-hmm.
And that day shall there be one Lord, and his name one.
Has this happened yet?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay, so this has not happened yet. Okay, so let's go ahead and towards the end real quick. All right, go to Revelation chapter 15. Okay, let's go to Revelation chapter 15. Give the people just a quick lesson. Revelation 15, pick it up at verse 1, brother. Revelation 15 and verse 1. Go ahead.
And I saw another sign in heaven,
Mhm.
great and marvelous, 7 angels having the 7 last plague.
Mm-hmm. Plagues. Uh-huh.
For in them is filled up with the wrath of God.
So hold on, let's slow down a second. All right. He said, and I saw another sign in heaven, great and marvelous, 7 angels having the 7 last plagues, for in them is filled up the wrath of God. So what are the 7 last plagues? Wrath of God, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's it. I mean, it gives us the answer right there. The 7 last plagues, and in them is the wrath of God. Now we're going to look at just a little glimpse of what that's going to look like and feel like, okay? So verse 2, go ahead.
And I saw as it were a sea of glass mingled with fire.
Mm-hmm.
and them that had gotten the victory over the beast,
Mm-hmm.
and over his image,
Mhm.
and over his mark, and
Mhm.
over the number of his name,
Mm-hmm.
stand on the sea of glass, having the harps of God.
Go ahead.
And they sing the song of Moses, the servant of God,
Mhm.
and the song of the Lamb, saying, Great and marvelous are thy works,
Mm-hmm.
Lord God Almighty. Just and true are thy ways,
Mhm.
thou King of saints.
Amen. Thou King of saints, just and true are there. So people are gonna. He's being very, very fair, because we'll realize he's been very, very fair. He's been very, very long suffering, putting up with what man has done thus far. Okay, putting up with what Israel has done thus far, and putting up with what the heathen has done thus far. Right.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So he said, "Thou King of saints," verse 4.
Who shall not fear thee, O
Mhm.
Lord,
Mhm.
and glorify thy name?
Mm-hmm.
For thou only art holy. For all nations shall come and worship before thee.
Mm-hmm.
For thy judgments are made manifest.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. He said, for all nations shall come and worship before thee, for thy judgments are made manifest. We're going to know what's right and wrong. It's going to be real easy. And see, when he's set up on the throne, it's going to be absolute. It's going to be absolute. There'll be no debating. You know, the debate and the bickering and all that we have right now about what the scripture says, and oh, we're supposed to do this and we're supposed to do that. It won't be any debating then. Won't be any of that. We got plenty of that right now. We do a whole lot of debating and backbiting and going back and forth, and this camp is false and that camp is false, and this person is, is cheating the people and deceiving the people, and this person's making too much of himself, and this guy thinks he's a big shot, and all that will be gone. Because the king is going to say what's right and wrong, what he wants to do. And I would advise you not to debate him on it. Okay? So let's go to Zechariah 14. Okay? Let's go to Zechariah 14. Because the way he wants it done, that's how you got to get it done. Or get dealt with. It's your choice. Alright? So let's go to Zechariah 14. And pick it up at verse 11 when you get there. Let the Bible speak. Zechariah 14. Verse 11.
Zechariah 14, verse 11.
Mm-hmm.
And men shall dwell in it, and there shall be no more utter destruction,
Mm-hmm.
but Jerusalem shall be safely inhabited.
Amen.
For this shall be the
Plague.
the plague wherewith the Lord will smite all the people
Mhm.
that have fought against Jerusalem.
Okay.
Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their
Oh, what an ugly picture. Read that again. Read that again. You want to fight against Jerusalem, fight against the Lord, fight against his saints. Okay. Basically, you want to go against the Lord. Let's see what's going to happen. Read verse 12 again.
And this shall be the plague wherewith the Lord will smite all the people that have fought against Jerusalem.
Go ahead.
Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet,
Mm-hmm.
and their eyes shall consume away in their holes,
Mm-hmm.
and their tongue shall consume away in their mouths.
Spontaneous combustion sounds like to me.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like spontaneous combustion. So you won't be able to do a Hebrew shuffle out of that one. You're going to get dealt with the way it comes, okay? Go ahead in verse 13.
And it shall come to pass in that day that a great
Tumult.
from the Lord shall be among them,
Mm-hmm.
and they shall lay hold every one on that hand of his neighbor,
Mm-hmm.
and his hand shall rise up against the hand of his neighbor.
And what else?
And Judah also shall fight at Jerusalem.
Yep.
And the wealth of all the heathen round about shall be gathered together.
Yep.
Gold and silver and apparel in great abundance.
What else?
And so shall be the plague of the horse, of the mule, of the camel, and of the ass, and of all the beasts that shall be in these tents,
Mm-hmm.
as the plague.
Go ahead.
And it shall come to pass that everyone that is left of all the nations
Mm-hmm.
which came against Jerusalem shall even go up for year to worship the King,
Mhm.
the Lord of hosts, and to keep the Feast of Tabernacles.
What? So wait a minute. Wait a minute. So we can understand what we just read, okay? You have a nation of people who fought against Jerusalem, okay? Fought against Jerusalem and its inhabitants. And the Lord is going to, he's going to win. And his saints are going to, fight on his side as well, because it said, and Judah also will fight. So you can't say, well, that's the Lord. And then when it says Judah, oh, that's the Lord. No, it's the Lord and his saints. Okay, so it said, and Judah also shall fight at Jerusalem, and the wealth of the heathen round about shall be gathered together, gold and silver and apparel in great abundance. Okay, because to the victor goes the spoils, right? Okay, and so shall be the plague of the horse, of the mule, of the camel, and of the ass, and of the beast that shall be in these tents, as this plague. Everything, okay, everything will be gathered up. Okay. And it shall come to pass that everyone that is left of all the nations which came against Jerusalem shall, so he's giving them a chance to repent once again, the ones who didn't die, okay? Giving them a chance. And he says, okay, you need to come back up here, pay homage, okay? You need to come back up here and worship year by year. When I tell you you need to be here, you need to be here, okay? So which of the nations which came against Jerusalem shall even go up from year to year to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. So when he comes back, we got to do the Feast of Tabernacles.
Yep.
So what's wrong with memorializing it right now? Getting to practice. Amen?
Amen.
Verse 17.
And it shall be that whoso will not come up of all the families of the earth unto Jerusalem to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, even upon them shall be no rain.
That means you don't get to eat. Go ahead.
And if the family of Egypt go not up and come not, that have no rain,
what else?
There shall be the plague, wherewith the Lord will smite the heathen that come not up to keep the Feast of Tabernacles.
So he is going to smite you with a plague if you don't want to come up to the Feast of Tabernacles. Because you're going to have some people who are stubborn and hard-headed because, people are stiff-necked and hard-hearted, right? So you're still going to have people who, I don't want to go. Okay, well, it's not going to end well for you, but okay, it's fine, But you can't say he's not. Isn't his judgment fair?
Yes,
he's fair. He gives you a chance. So you didn't die, and he says, okay, I'll make a deal with you. Worship me, come to the Jerusalem year by year, do the Feast of Tabernacles, among other things, among other judgments too. And I won't have to kill you. I have every right to kill you. You came against me and my people. But I'm gonna give you a chance. Deal or no deal, right? Leviticus 25. Okay? Leviticus 25. This is a big cleanup act is what this is. Okay? Leviticus 25. Okay? Now, I just want one verse when you get there, okay? Because this is about all of this foolishness coming to an end. That's what this is about. Leviticus 25, read verse 10. Just give me that one verse.
And ye shall hallow the 50th year, and proclaim liberty throughout all the land until all the inhabitants thereof. It shall be a jubilee unto you, and ye shall return every man unto his possession, and ye shall return every man unto his family. Freedom,
liberty. That's what that jubilee is, a celebration of liberty. That's what we're talking about here. Now go to Leviticus 23. I just want that one verse. Let's go to Leviticus 23. Okay? And when you get to 23, let's go to verse 39. Leviticus 23 and verse 39.
Also in the 15th day of the 7th month,
when
ye have gathered in the fruit of the land, ye shall keep a feast unto the Lord 7 days.
So we're supposed to feast for 7 days, okay? We're pretty much in the middle of that, but go ahead.
And the first day shall be a Sabbath, and on the 8th day shall be a Sabbath.
The first day and then the 8th day shall be a Sabbath. We understand? So you treat it like a weekly Sabbath, except, it's a feast day, but you don't go to work. Okay, no servile work, no work for money, no work for pay. Okay, but you got to work to prepare and get everything ready and all that, but no work for pay. Okay, all right. And then in verse 40, go ahead. He just gives us a little bit more detail in verse 40. Go ahead.
And ye shall take you on the first day and bows
or boughs, bows of goodly trees,
branches of palm trees, and the boughs of thick trees, and willows of the brook. And ye shall rejoice before the Lord your God.
That's celebrate. Rejoice is celebration. You shall celebrate before the Lord, right? Celebrate, party, have fun before the Lord. Okay, dwelling in booths. Okay. Now look at what happened over in Nehemiah 8. Go to Nehemiah 8. Okay. Okay, look at what happened when they lost their way, and then they have to figure out, hey man, just like many of us who woke up. Okay, many of us who woke up and said, oh man, we're supposed to be keeping some of this stuff. Hey, we're supposed to be observing his law, statutes, and commandments. Oh, wait a minute, we're supposed to be doing this whole dietary law. Oh, wait, these holy days, we're supposed to be getting rid of the paganism, which is the season we're about to go into it. It's the season of the heathen. But we're supposed to avoid that. Don't celebrate, don't observe that. We're supposed to be observing these holy days that actually mean something, right? Okay, so Nehemiah 8, pick it up at verse 14. Nehemiah 8 and verse 14. Nehemiah chapter 8, verse 14, let the Bible speak.
And they found written in the law which the Lord had commanded by Moses,
Mm-hmm.
that the children of Israel should dwell in booths in the feast of the 7th month.
Mm-hmm. That's what we're talking about right now. Go ahead.
And that they should
Publish.
and proclaim in all their cities.
Let everyone know, okay? And today you're supposed to put it on Facebook, tweet it out, let everybody know, okay? He said, and they shall publish and proclaim in all their cities and in Jerusalem, saying what?
In Jerusalem, saying, go forth unto the mount,
Mm-hmm.
and fetch olive branches, and pine branches, and
Myrtle branches.
and palm branches, and branches of thick trees, to make booths, as it is written.
As it is written. Go ahead.
So the people went forth and brought them, and
Mm-hmm.
made themselves booths, everyone upon the roof of his house,
Mm-hmm.
in their courts, and in the courts of the house of God,
Mm-hmm.
and in the street of the water gate,
Mm-hmm.
and in the street of the gate of Ephraim.
Okay, now some people are sticklers, okay? So let me just go ahead and elaborate for the sticklers, okay? This is a direct description of what we should be doing. We also should be doing it in Jerusalem as it is described, okay? That's how we're supposed to do it, okay? Now, since I know no one is doing it this way because we are in the land of our captive and half of us don't know what half these trees are, so I know many people are not doing it exactly the way it is prescribed here. Now, if you ask me, should we do this way? If at all possible, of course you should follow it to the letter, if at all possible. But it's not quite possible. So, what it would look like today is everyone would be dwelling in tents, okay? Booths, tents. Many, like I said earlier in this program, I said many people gather up their family and they go pack up their RV or whatever, go to land, go to a community, go out into the woods or wilderness or whatever, and just it look like a little tent city, okay? It'll look like a little tent city, and they remain there for 7 days. Solemn assembly on the first day, solemn assembly on the 8th day, okay? So that's what we're supposed to do. Yes, you can do things to prepare for the feast for 7 days, okay? That's what you have to do. Again, you're not doing servile work, but you are doing work to prepare for the feast day, okay? This is 7 days. And remember, you're talking about the people who didn't have a stove and didn't have refrigeration, okay? Mm-hmm. So you figure it out from there, okay? You figure out what I'm saying from there, all right? So we're going to continue, and verse 17. Okay, so it's going to be tents everywhere, or booths in this case, everywhere. Verse 17.
And all the congregation of them that were come again out of the captivity made booths,
Mm-hmm.
and sat under the booths.
Yep.
For since the days of
Jeshua,
the son of Nun, unto that day had not the children of Israel done so.
Right, they stopped doing it, but go ahead.
And there was very great gladness.
So they were really happy to get back to what they were supposed to be doing. Much like many of you out there who have awakened and said, you know what, this feels good. I love doing something that actually means something that pleases the Most High. Now the scales have fallen from my eyes. Now I see what I should be doing. This feels great. I got a heritage back. This feels great. We have our tradition back. This feels good. It means something. You're getting your identity back. It means something. That's why when they got back to it, like what we're trying to do now, when they got back to it, there was very great gladness, okay? Because they hadn't done it in a while. Since Joshua, we're all the way in Nehemiah. They hadn't done it in a little while. They fell away, okay? Now, verse 18, go ahead.
Also day by day, from the first day unto the last day, he read it in the book of the law of God.
Didn't we read Exodus and Leviticus? Mm-hmm. All that? Okay, go ahead. He read in the book of the law of God and what?
And they kept the feast 7 days.
Mm-hmm.
And on the 8th day was a solemn assembly,
Mm-hmm.
according unto the manner.
According unto the manner. Okay? Go with me to 2 Peter 1. 2 Peter 1. Second Peter 1. Because we do this tabernacle, it has two meanings, okay? Tabernacle is a dwelling, okay? It's also a place of worship with a God. But we're also living in a tabernacle. We're walking around in a tabernacle. So let's go to 2 Peter chapter 1. Pick it up at verse 13. Okay? Verse 13. 2 Peter chapter 1, verse 13.
Yea, I think it meet, as long as I am in this tabernacle,
Mm-hmm.
to stir you up, but by putting you in remembrance.
This is what I'm trying to do right now. I'm trying to put you in remembrance of what was already written, what was before us right in our Bible, and no one felt it necessary to tell us about it, to tell us how important these feast days are. Tell us about it. So go ahead and continue, verse 14.
Knowing that shortly I must put off this my tabernacle,
Mm-hmm.
even as our Lord Jesus Christ hath showed me. Moreover, I will devour. Right?
Where are you?
First.
Endeavor. Moreover, I will endeavor.
Endeavor.
Mm-hmm.
That ye may be able after my decease to have these things always in remembrance.
Always in remembrance. And let me encourage you to always remember what is going on here. Okay? We're putting you in remembrance of these holy days that we were not doing previously. Okay? But we're doing it now. Go to 2 Corinthians. 2 Corinthians. 2 Corinthians chapter 5. 2 Corinthians chapter 5. And when we get there, let's pick it up at verse 1. 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 1.
For we know that if our earthly house of this tabernacle were dissolved,
Mm-hmm.
we have a building of God, and house not made with hands,
Mm-hmm.
eternal in the heavens.
Okay, so he's talking about that immortal body is what he's referring to. That immortal body. Okay? In verse 2, go ahead.
For in this we groan,
Mm-hmm.
earnestly
Desiring.
to be clothed upon with our house, which is from heaven.
Okay, that's that immortal body that he's talking about. Okay, that's what he's talking about. For if we grow now, we're getting older, and body starts to make sounds when you get up, make sounds when you roll over, make sounds when you sit down, creaking and popping, give out a little bit, getting a little older. We grown, we get a little aged there. But a new body that does not suffer death or the dying of our cells is prepared for us in heaven. So let's go on over to verse 3. Go ahead.
If so be that being clothed, we shall not be found naked.
Go ahead.
For we that are in this tabernacle do groan,
Mm-hmm.
being burdened.
Burden. Go ahead.
Not for that we would be unclothed,
Mm-hmm.
but clothed upon,
Mm-hmm.
that mortality might be swallowed up of life.
So we know he's talking about immortality, right?
Mm-hmm.
Go to 1 Corinthians. 1 Corinthians chapter 15. Okay? 1 Corinthians chapter 15. He said, For we that are in this tabernacle do groan, being burdened, not for that we would be unclothed, but clothed upon, that mortality might be swallowed up of life. Now go to 1 Corinthians 15. Pick it up at verse 35. Go ahead. 1 Corinthians 15.
But some men will say, How are the dead raised up?
Mm-hmm.
And with what body do they come?
Mm-hmm.
Thou fool, that which thou sowest is not quickened, except it die.
Yep.
And that which thou sowest, thou sowest not the body that shall be,
Mm-hmm.
but bear grain.
Mm-hmm.
It may chance of wheat,
Mm-hmm.
or of some other grain.
Okay.
But God giveth it a body as it hath pleased him,
Okay.
and to every seed his own body.
Okay. So this body will die and be traded in for a new body. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna sow a human body in a immortal human type body will come again. Okay? Gonna sow this mortal body and reap an immortal body. Okay? So that's what we're talking about. 39.
All flesh is not the same flesh.
Go ahead.
But there is one kind of flesh of men.
Yep.
Another flesh of beasts.
Mm-hmm.
Another of fishes, and another of birds.
Go ahead.
There are also celestial
bodies
and bodies terrestrial.
Terrestrial,
But the glory of the celestial is one. And the glory of the terrestrial is another.
Okay, so it's two. He's just saying it's two different types of bodies. Okay, go ahead.
There is one glory of the sun,
Mm-hmm.
another glory of the moon,
Mm-hmm.
another glory of the stars.
Mm-hmm.
For one star differeth from another star in glory.
Go ahead.
So also is the resurrection of the dead.
Yes.
It is sown in corruption. It is raised in incorruption.
This mortal body is sown, an immortal body will be reaped. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
It is sown in dishonor.
Mm-hmm.
It is raised in glory.
Go ahead.
It is sown in weakness. It is raised in power.
Go ahead.
It is sown a natural body.
Mm-hmm.
It is raised a spiritual body.
Mm-hmm.
There is a natural body and there is a spiritual body.
Of course there is. Go to verse 47. Go to verse 47.
The first man is of the earth, earthly. The
Yep.
second man is the Lord from the heaven.
Yep.
As is the earthy, such are they also that are earthy.
Yep.
And as is the heavenly, such are they also that are
Exactly. They are earthly. They come from earth. That's really where we're from. That's where we form man. And then Christ again came through. Okay, came through Mary. All right. But then he died. That mortal body. That body was prepared for me. That died and came up in a mortal body. Okay. Same thing because he become our first fruit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the same thing. Okay. And in verse 49,
And as we have
born.
And as we have borne the image of the earthy,
Yep.
we shall also bear the image of the heavenly.
Go to verse 51.
Behold, I show you a mystery.
Mm-hmm.
We shall not all sleep, but we shall all be changed.
Mm-hmm.
In a moment, in the twinkling of an eye,
Mm-hmm.
at the last trump,
Mm-hmm.
for the last trumpet shall sound, and the dead shall be raised incorruptible,
Mm-hmm.
and we shall be changed.
Yep.
For this corruptible must put on incorruption,
Mm-hmm.
and this mortal must put on immortality.
Go ahead.
So when this corruptible shall have put on incorruption, and this mortal shall have put on immortality, then shall be brought to pass the saying that is written, death is swallowed up in victory.
Mm-hmm.
O death, where is thy sting?
Mhm.
O grave, where is thy victory?
Okay, so we got. Let's see here, 3 more places, and then we will be done at the conclusion of this lesson. So go with me back to Leviticus 23. Yeah, Leviticus 23. Okay. And when you get to Leviticus 23, read verse 41. Go to 41. Okay, all this 7, 7, 7, 7 is telling us that's all we have. That's the whole time. That's the whole enchilada. That's the timeline of man. That's all you have. That's how much time we have. Okay, that's why 7, 7, 7, 7. Trying to do it. 7 is complete. That's it. It's done. Okay, so start at verse 41. Verse 41, brother.
And ye shall keep it a feast unto the Lord 7 days in the year.
Mm-hmm.
It shall be a statute forever in your generations.
Mhm.
Ye shall celebrate it in the 7th month.
Go ahead.
Ye shall dwell in booths 7 days.
Mm-hmm.
All that are Israelites born shall dwell in booths.
Yep.
That your generations may know that I made the children of Israel to dwell in booths.
Yep.
When I brought them out of the land of Egypt.
Mhm.
I am the Lord your God.
Okay, now he said, now here, let's go to our last place. Go to Deuteronomy 14. Now, we saw in a few places where it says 3 times a year you're going to come up and you're going to celebrate this feast, right? Now, let's get a little bit more details because people are like, well, what do I do? How do I do it? Okay, let's get a little bit more detail on that when you have to go up to do this, okay? Deuteronomy 14. Pick it up at verse 22, our last place. Let's see how we actually, keep the feast or how they did it back then. Deuteronomy 14, verse 22. Go ahead.
Thou shalt truly
Tithe.
tithe all the increase of thy seed, and that the field bringeth forth year by year.
Okay, go ahead.
And thou shalt eat before the Lord thy God
Mm-hmm.
in the place which.
So we know feast is eating because he said you shall eat before the Lord, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so he said, and thou shalt eat before the Lord thy God. Go ahead. 23.
And thou shalt eat before the Lord thy God in the place which he shall choose to place his name there.
Mm-hmm.
The tithe.
Tithe.
The tithe of thy corn,
Mhm.
of thy wine,
Mhm.
of thy oil,
Mm-hmm.
are the firstlings of thy herds
Mm-hmm.
and of thy flocks,
Mm-hmm.
that thou mayest learn to fear the Lord thy God always.
Go ahead.
And if the way be too long for thee,
Mm-hmm.
so that thou art not able to carry it,
Mm-hmm.
if the place be too far from thee,
Mm-hmm.
which the Lord thy God shall choose to set his name there,
Mm-hmm.
when the Lord thy God hath blessed thee,
Mm-hmm.
then shalt thou turn it into money,
Mm-hmm.
and bend up the money in thine hand,
Okay.
and shall go unto the place which the Lord thy God shall choose.
Okay, so you're just going to bind up the money in your hand. So go ahead, put that away, and then shall go unto the place which the Lord thy God shall choose. Verse 26. What can you do with that money? Go ahead.
And thou shalt bestow that money for whatsoever thy soul
Lusted after.
lusteth after.
Whatever you want, whatever you desire. Go ahead. For what?
For oxen, or
Mm.
for sheep,
Mhm.
or for wine, or for strong drink,
Mm-hmm.
or for whatsoever thy soul desireth.
Mm-hmm.
And thou shalt eat there before the Lord thy God,
Mm-hmm.
and thou shalt rejoice, thou and thine household.
So you shall eat before the Lord, and you shall rejoice. Sounds like a party, right?
Mm-hmm.
Eating and rejoicing before the Lord. Everybody gathering together, eating and rejoicing for the Lord. That's how you keep the feast day. And notice what you can have. Okay, whatever thy soul lusteth after, thou oxen or sheep or wine or strong drink, or for whatever thy soul desire. Well, have a party, have a good time. A commandment to have a good time. He's advising you to have a good time and rejoice before the Lord. Than the law, okay? Can't sin, okay? Can't sin, but you can have a good time. Okay, and if you think the only way you can have a good time is to sin, then you got bigger problems. So that's how we keep this Feast of Tabernacles. We just wanted to bring you guys a quick lesson so you guys can finish enjoying your Feast of Tabernacles, give you guys a understanding of what it means, the Feast of Tabernacles, and how you can observe the Feast of Tabernacles with you and your family. Thank you so much for joining us for this special presentation. And until next time, search the scriptures and prove all things. Shalom, Israel.